You talk too much, and it's weakening you. Maybe you don't even notice, but with every unnecessary explanation, with every attempt to justify who you are giving away your strength, word by word. Meanwhile, the true Stoics mastered the world in silence. Marcus Aurelius ruled empires, Epictetus turned soldiers into sages, Seneca advised emperors, and they all practiced the same invisible weapon: intentional silence. In this video, you'll discover the Stoic power of silence and what happens when you simply stop explaining yourself. This isn't about staying quiet, it's about taking control. It's about flipping the script in a world where everyone shouts, but few carry true presence. By the end, you'll understand why the most powerful phrase in this video is, "Let them wonder." The question now is, will you keep trying to convince the world? Or will you leave it confused by your unshakable presence? Now think with me. Have you ever regretted explaining too much? Saying something you didn't need to? Opening your heart only to be misunderstood? Trying to justify every step to people who were never really on your side? Here's the brutal truth. Talking too much weakens you. Explaining too much exposes you. Trying to convince people drains you. The Stoics knew this over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus said, "Silence is more powerful than 1,000 arguments, because while you speak, the other person watches. While you try to explain, they judge. And while you try to be understood, you are often just handing over your power. You may not notice it, but every time you try to explain who you are, justify what you feel, or convince someone of your worth, you stop being a rock and become a wave trying to impress the wrong shore." Stoic action step. Before you justify, breathe. Before you respond, listen. Before you explain, ask yourself, will this explanation free me or expose me? Silence is not absence. It's self-mastery. It's choosing to protect your energy instead of begging for validation. Comment below, "My silence protects me." Your comment might be the reminder someone else needs right now. And remember this, those who need too many words to defend themselves have usually already lost the battle within. But what if your silence makes others uncomfortable? What if they expect you to react, justify, or argue? What do you do when the world screams and you decide to stay at peace? When you stop explaining yourself, someone gets uncomfortable. When you stop justifying, someone calls you cold. When you choose to stay silent, the world reacts with noise. Do you know why? Because your silence reveals much more about them than about you. It disarms, it unsettles, it frustrates those who wanted control, not dialogue. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayals, false advisors, and decisions that affected an entire empire. And even so, in his meditations, he wrote, "Be silent. The most powerful response is the example." Silence is uncomfortable because it removes the audience from the stage, with no explanations, no justifications, no defenses. The other person is left only with their own reflection. And some people can't stand to see themselves. When there's no one left to blame, the weak version reacts. The Stoic version observes, calculates, decides based on what strengthens, not on what proves something to someone else. Stoic action step. Practice reactive silence. For one day, avoid responding to any provocation, passive-aggressive comment, or emotional pressure. Just listen, observe, and take notes. At the end of the day, reflect. How many conflicts were avoided? How many times did you realize you didn't need to say anything? Seneca taught the power of silence. As the wise say, "It is better to stay silent and appear wise than to speak and prove otherwise." Your silence is the mirror where others see themselves clearly, and not everyone will like the reflection. Comment below, "I lead in silence." It might become a shield for someone learning to protect their own peace. But remember this, staying silent is not running away, it's choosing the right time to act. The real question is, when does silence become cowardice? And when does it become absolute strength? Have you ever been in a conversation where everyone spoke, except you? Sometimes not because of shyness, but because you realized nothing you said would matter in that moment. So you stayed silent, not out of weakness, but out of strength. Because you knew the greatest wisdom right then was not to react, The Stoics understood this perfectly. Epictetus said, "If someone tries to provoke you, remember that you are the one who decides whether to be disturbed or not." In other words, silence is not the absence of a response. It's the chosen response of someone who has mastered themselves. Today, we are trained to react to everything. A passive-aggressive comment, a social media insult, a strange look at work. Most people react on impulse, but the Stoic observes, and here's the lesson, not all silence is passivity. Sometimes it's strategy. Being silent is being in absolute control of yourself, while others try to pull you out of yourself. Stoic action step. 1. During your next argument or tension, pause for 3 seconds before responding. 2. Ask yourself, will my response change something real or just feed the noise? 3. If it's just noise, stay silent. If it's wisdom, speak with strength. This may feel strange at first, but over time, you'll realize staying silent isn't always easy, but it's almost always right. If this part of the video reminded you of a moment when silence was your best choice, comment below. My silence was my strength. Your comment might be the reminder someone else needs today, to choose protection over justification. And if this content is helping you see the power of silence with new eyes, like the video now. It helps it reach more people who are also searching for inner strength in the middle of chaos. And if you want to continue this journey with us, subscribe to the channel now. Here, every video is a training in presence, clarity, and self-mastery. Now that you understand why silence makes others uncomfortable, it's time for the most important part. How to turn that silence into real power. Not the loud kind that seeks control from the outside, but the quiet strength that leads from within and imposes itself, even without words. Have you ever noticed that most people speak to feel in control? It's like explaining everything as a way to seek constant validation, justifying, giving context, defending, being understood. But the Stoics had a brutally different view. They believed that the less you explain, the more people listen. It's a timeless principle shaped by Stoic wisdom. In this case, silence is not the absence of speech. It is the absolute presence of clarity. Why do we explain so much? Because we want others to understand us, approve us, accept us. But every time you force understanding, you hand over control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time trying to convince others of your worth. Build your life so that your worth becomes undeniable." And here's the turning point. Strategic silence protects you from judgment and strengthens you from within. It's like building an invisible wall between your true self and other people's opinions. You don't need to explain your journey to someone who doesn't have the courage to walk their own. Stoic action step. 1. Observe your urge to justify. For the next 24 hours, notice every time you feel like explaining yourself, giving context, or defending your choices. 2. Breathe and choose silence. Say only what is necessary. Watch what happens. 3. At the end of the day, reflect. What happened when I stopped explaining? What did I gain? What did I lose? What did I discover about myself? You'll notice something curious. Silence gives you something no explanation ever will. Respect. Because it shows that you don't need someone else's permission to be who you are. If this already connected with you in any way, comment below, "I don't explain, I build." Your comment might free someone who's been trying to please everyone and slowly forgetting themselves. Now stay with me, because the next point will show you how silence becomes real power, especially in intense moments where everyone else loses control. Have you ever noticed that the strongest people rarely explain themselves? They don't chase approval, they don't try to outshout others, and they never use words to cover their insecurities. This is not passivity, it's strategy, a deliberate silence, chosen by someone who rules their inner world. Marcus Aurelius faced political crises, betrayals, and even civil wars within the empire. But he was not known for long public speeches. He was known for observation, for few words, for action. He wrote, "Stop wasting time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That is the essence. The weak self feels the need to react to everything. The strong self understands the power of not reacting. Silence is not just the absence of speech. It is concentrated presence. It is emotional mastery. It is the space between impulse and response, where true strength lives, and it is not easy, because the whole world expects you to prove something, to justify, to defend, to explain. But the Stoics knew this. Those who master silence master themselves, and those who master themselves have already won half the battle. Stoic action step. 1. Choose a situation that usually gets under your skin. 2. Next time it happens, practice silence for 10 seconds before reacting. 3. Observe what changes inside you and around you. You'll notice something surprising. Often, your silent presence speaks louder than any speech. Now tell me this. What happens when that silence turns into respect? When it's no longer just self-control, but a kind of aura that protects you? That's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Have you ever noticed how the most truly respected people almost never need to raise their voice? They walk into a room and everything changes. It's not arrogance. It's not intimidation. It's something more subtle, more profound. It's their silence that says everything. Not passive silence, but silence filled with presence, with awareness, with self-mastery. The Stoics called this autarky, the ability to be complete within yourself, without needing external approval. Marcus Aurelius would enter imperial assemblies in silence. He would observe, reflect, and when he spoke, everyone listened. Seneca said, "Speaking little is better than speaking too much, because the value of words lies in what they carry, not in how many you pour out." Now think about this. Every time you stay silent with intention, you're sending a silent message. I don't need to prove anything. That kind of posture unsettles the insecure, but commands respect among the wise. Firm silence, the kind that doesn't break or panic. It creates a field around you. People feel it, and often they step back, because those who master their own silence are rarely mastered by other people's noise. Stoic action step. 1. The next time you feel the urge to justify yourself, breathe for 3 seconds and say nothing. 2. When entering a new space, pause and observe first. Feel the room, then speak if necessary. 3. Choose one moment in your day to practice intentional silence. No explanations. No defenses, no rush. This is the kind of strength that needs no announcement, because it arrives before the words. If this made sense to you, comment below. Firm silence, unshakable presence. Your comment might awaken that same strength in someone else, who's watching now and needs this reminder. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next is the most important conclusion of all. You'll understand why "let them wonder" is not just a powerful phrase. It's a philosophy of presence, a way of living with clarity, strength, and intentional silence. You made it this far, and that already reveals something powerful. You are ready to stop reacting and start owning the space you occupy. No more explaining, no more shouting, no more begging for attention. What you built here is not just understanding, it is presence. You've realized that silence is not weakness, it is strategy, it is protection, it is self-mastery. And remember that phrase from the beginning, the most powerful one of all, let them wonder. That phrase is not about arrogance. It's about becoming so centered, so consistent, so calm in your actions, that the world simply can't figure you out. And it doesn't have to, because you're not here to convince anymore. You're here to build, to walk with purpose, and to leave the noise to those who still haven't found direction. Silence is where your true strength begins, and the world will have to learn how to deal with that. You didn't watch this video by accident. If you made it this far, it's because something inside you has already started to shift, and the silence you cultivated while watching now needs to become action. Choose one Stoic idea from today, just one, and apply it for the next 7 days. Notice how it changes your posture, your presence, and your peace. Comment below. My silence begins with, fill in the phrase or insight that resonated with you the most. Your comment might be the turning point for someone, still trapped in the habit of over-explaining, and just waiting for a sign to finally act. And if this video gave you clarity, if it strengthened you in any way, like it now. It helps this message reach those who need it most. Subscribe too, because this isn't just content, this is Stoic training. For those who have decided to stop talking and start living. This video ends here, but the training is just beginning. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, you only need to practice in silence, with intention, with consistency, and if this message resonated with you, you are already part of it. Welcome to Stoic Solutions Now. I will see you in the next episode. Until then, stay focused, embrace the silence, let them wonder.